women were equal participants in the struggle to create a new state for the Jews. They had enough stamina, courage, also collaboration to succeed.
Now, more and more men are understanding that better decisions are made if they have women also in the room with them.
We're 50% of the global population, so we definitely need to have a seat at the table.
Israel elevated the women to a place that, when you look in the region, there's nothing like that.
What is the long-term goal? Integration.
It's incredible to see the role of Israeli women repeat itself through history. From the time of the Bible to this very day, every generation raises strong and impactful women. The 1948 Israeli Declaration of Independence promises full equality to both men and women. And although we're not fully there, the pressure and the demand to see that promise fully fulfilled are still present today.
There's no doubt that women played a crucial part in the establishment of the State of Israel. There's a saying that you can't be what you can't see. So it's also showing women that you can participate in all those fields as well.
We need to fully utilize our human resource. And women in the military are 30%, and you have to fully utilize all the potential that you have.
If you look at every change that was made by women who did not succumb. Nothing comes easy when it comes to the change of the power equation.
I'm on my way to meet with Professor Batsheva Margalit-Stern, who specializes in women's studies and modern Jewish history. She's going to tell us about just how significant women were for the early Zionist movement. So, Professor, we're here talking about women in Israel specifically. I remember the heroines of our childhood. Women that were the sort of epitome of valor, of sacrifice, hard work in the fields, fighting alongside the men. What was the reality of that?
Women early on became equal in their status to the men members of the Zionist movement. Mm-hmm. Nevertheless, when they wanted to translate this formal equality into action, it was a little bit more complicated.
The modern Zionist movement emerged in the late 19th century in Europe with waves of Jewish immigrations to pre-state Israel and the vision of an independent Jewish state.
The Zionist revolution was about creating a new people, a new Jew in masculine. So where is the new Jewess? In order to create a new Jewish woman, the women had to design the new model. Mm-hmm. And indeed they did. The goal was to create a better society for all. So women had to fight by convincing their colleagues that without changing, a new society is not going to be created. So it was a mutual interest for both men and women. What we see today is the results of their struggles early on. They designed a new Jewish woman, which was about being independent, educated, having rights in all areas in life.
When I look back at our history, everyone thinks about one person in particular, the woman who got to the top, Golda Meir. Golda Meir immigrated to pre-state Israel in 1921 and served as Israel's fourth prime minister from 1969 through 1974, at a time where women did not attain leadership positions, even in the most progressive of countries.
Everything in our power we are going to do so that this time it's the last war.
She grew up in the United States. She got the idea of a modern society. When she immigrated to Eretz Israel, it was quite difficult for her. She had to make a living for her and her family in very dire conditions. But Golda was very keen of politics. The political arena was dominated by men. And Golda Meir really fought and maneuvered her way into this arena, and she succeeded.
She got all the way to the top.
Yeah.
Golda Meir becomes Prime Minister of the State of Israel. And this is, today it's easy to look back and say, oh, it's a linear and obvious progression. It was not. We were a state at constant war at the time, and still somehow a woman in Israel, which was a general-led country, manages to get all the way to the top.
She gained power despite her being a woman.
Yeah,
she did not gain power because she was a feminist. She gained power because she was a good soldier for the cause, a good and loyal member within her political circle. She never was a feminist in her own words. Even when she accepted feminist issues, did not fight in the political arena under the hat of a feminist. Does it mean that she was not sensitive to the specific problems women faced? Of course not. She herself faced some of the problems. Golda indeed broke the glass ceiling. She is a relic of this revolutionary Zionist movement that started the entire enterprise. But the question remains open. Did she pave the way for other women to follow her footsteps, or did she not?
Shalom and welcome back. Mati, it's so interesting to see this whole chapter of women, especially when we think about the region that we are. Israel elevated the women to a place that, when you look in the region, there's nothing like that in the region.
Not very common at all. I think it's a very little-known story how huge of a role women had in the early days of this country. You know, you look at the early Zionist movement, there were so many incredible and impactful women who were part of that, early stage of this country.
From biblical time till modern time, we see the role of the women, which is unreplaceable.
Samuel, I think you're going to be surprised by how this movement looks today, by how important and unique the women who are acting in Israeli society are today.
So you know what, Mati? Let's continue watching.
More than any other woman in modern history, Golda Meir, the first female prime minister of Israel, shattered the glass ceiling. Typically speaking, leadership in this country is male-dominant, but today, more than ever, women are fighting for their place in society to reach the top in every area of Israeli governance and leadership. I'm on my way to meet with Tanya, who's the CEO of the Dvorah Forum, which is an organization that has a goal of integrating women into male-dominated fields, but specifically into the national security decision-making positions. Tanya.
Mati.
Good to see you.
You too. In Israel, a lot of the senior roles are based on your combat experience because the IDF is so central. That opens a ticket into businesses, politics, etc. If not all roles are open for women in the military to begin with, then you don't have the same starting point for promotion along the way.
So the problem we present is there's an underrepresentation of women, specifically when it comes to security. Security is a huge deal for Israel for obvious reasons. People don't understand that this is important, so let's help them understand that it's important.
It's not just people, it's decision makers. It's getting them to be more minded about the fact that women need to be full participants around the table. Forum Dvorah was initially established in 2009 as a branch for the American Institute for Inclusive Security within the inspiration of UN Council Resolution 1325, which calls on women to participate in everything that has to do with women, peace, and security. It also acknowledges that women's experiences in conflict zones is quite different than men's, and for that reason, women need to be around the negotiation table as well. Part of our work is promoting policy and promoting our general agenda, which is gender equality and promoting more women in the fields of national security and foreign policy. And in the second aspect, it's creating a network of professional women who can actually take a seat at the table. So it's helping younger women become promoted into more senior roles. We want women to be full participants in everything that has to do with security, whether it's in a security establishment and in the IDF, in the Knesset, in the Israeli parliament, in order for them to also have an impact on decisions that affect their lives.
The Dvorah Forum is making real progress where it matters most in this region, defense and national security. So it's no surprise that the organization is named after an incredible biblical trailblazer.
Dvorah is completely a role model for us. She was a prophet, a judge, a statesperson, a military leader.
Dvorah, or Deborah, is the only woman mentioned in the Bible who was a judge. She communicated directly with God and led Israel into a victorious battle, in which her female warrior Yael killed Sisera, the commander of the Canaanite army.
She did it all. It was an incredible role model from what we read in the Bible, and definitely somebody we could still look up today.
Has there been forward movement? Have there been positive changes?
I think it is changing. I think men are understanding that better decisions are made if they have women also in the room with them. Within the last government, there were only 4 women director generals in the various government ministries. Today, there's 10, and that's progress for sure. I'd love to stop saying, oh, she shattered the glass ceiling. I'd love there not to be any more firsts of. That would be my goal.
Hi.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Shall we?
Lieutenant General Orit Adato, who mentors for the Dvorah Forum, has shattered the glass ceiling for women in Israel many times over.
You are a person of many firsts for women. How did that happen? What is your story?
Oh, I have a very simple story. I have 2 older brothers. Both of them have been serving in the military for a career, so I thought I wouldn't be there. I left the military after my basic service. I got married, I gave birth, but I felt something is not full enough. I'm not feeling that I'm doing my best. So I came back to the military, and I didn't know that I'm gonna be big. I was doing my job, and I got the position of commander of the main training base for women. And I said, okay, now it's the time for us to make a change.
Since 1947, female soldiers in Israel served in the Women's Corps, a separate, isolated corps within the IDF. This meant fewer female positions and way less influence. But in the 1990s, thanks to Adato's vision, things would finally change.
The change regarding women's service was from the point that we don't have the privilege not to fully utilize our human resource. And women in the military are 30%, and you have to fully utilize all the potential that you have. That was the first breakthrough, because within a year or 2, there were combat positions open for women, tank engineering, electricity, even truck drivers. And then I said, why do we need a different base for officer corps for women, while there is a base for officer corps for men? At the end of the day, they are doing the same jobs. Why should we train them separated?
It's not easy for people to go against a cultural norm. It's
not only
easy.
against cultural norm, but cutting your power.
Because you essentially said, we don't need my job.
You have to be courageous to say, okay, I know what I am giving up, but I don't know what will happen later on.
Adato radically reorganized the Women's Corps and is considered instrumental in what would come later: the dismantling of the Corps and full integration of female soldiers in the IDF.
That was something for me, wow, we did it. We did it.
Only with retrospect can you look back and say, I can see the bigger effect of this. You look at where the army is today, and you can see like there's this constant change year after year after year, where more and more roles are opening up for women.
Things that for us were achievements now are obvious. It's a time for us, the senior women, to enable other women to be promoted for the sake of the state of Israel.
The long lineage of strength and valor continues as the women of Israel press on tenaciously to ensure a just society for all, where each and every person's dreams can be attained.
The achievements are here, and we can see them. Women have to make sure that they keep the achievements they gained due to the Zionist role models.
We are creating role models for young women growing up now. We want to have the chance to impact policy, decision-making, our security. We want to have a say.
Dream, dare, do. That's what I've done, and that's what we all should do.
Shalom from Jerusalem. Today we have the great honor of having with us Dr. Tova Ganzel. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Great honor to have you with us. And shalom. And today we're going to talk about women in the Bible. But first of all, why don't you tell us your story?
In the household I grew up with, which was an Orthodox Jewish household, boys studied Talmudic texts, and women weren't actually expected to have any knowledge similar to the boys' raising. I couldn't figure out, why is this right for men but not right for women? And I went to the university, but I finished my BA feeling that I actually don't know how to address the rabbinic texts. And that's when I went to a special institution. We were a very small group of women. There were 6 of us and then 8 of us, with prominent rabbis that actually gave us access to rabbinical texts. And I can say that 25 years later, it's become a standard.
Let me ask first, who is the most, or the lady that impacted you the most in the Bible?
Wow, that's a good question. I think that's what's special about women's leadership, is that many times it doesn't happen on its own. Women work in communities, they work in groups, and we can see it in different stories. We could see it in Exodus, we could see it later. If we talk about Valor, we could talk about different women, and I think that what the common denominator many times is that they know how to work together with each other, and I think that's why the results they bring many times are far better than what any individual person would bring on their own.
Interesting. Let's talk about Deborah the prophet. There are not too many women prophets in the Bible.
That's true.
Deborah plays a big role, I think. First of all, the fact that she was called a prophet.
Right.
That's a statement. That's a statement.
I would say further, if we would open the chapter that describes Dvorah, then the verse says, Udvorah isha nevi'ah, but then it says that he shofta et Israel ba'etahi, which would mean in English, she was judging Israel at that time. For me personally, we're talking about the evolutionary process that I went through when, you know, when even studying a biblical text could have been a challenge, and a Talmudic text was something out of my reach. Knowing that the Bible sets a standard where a woman could be a judge, in rabbinic courts today in Israel, there are no women judges, and I don't think that of Islamic courts or other courts, they're very, very rare to have women in that are judges. But we see that the Bible, that has set a moral standard for many, many years and many issues, is relevant. It shows that there's an evolutionary process, but we'll get there slowly but surely.
There are women watching you all over the world, women who love the Word of God, women who love Israel. Do you have a message for them?
Wow. Women can be out there in all different positions, whatever they decide that they bring to the table or bring to the conversation. So we have all these women that one common denominator between all of them is that they were creative.
Brave.
They were very brave. They did things that ended up being a turning point in history in many different ways. No one told them, now this is what you were going to do. They all changed something in the way the story developed, but they really did it
Beautiful.
bottom up.
Dr. Tova, thank you very much. It was very insightful.
I'm on my way to Jaffa Port to meet with Ina Braverman, a young woman who's changing the future of electricity.
This is the first time in the history of Israel that wave energy will officially connect to the electrical national grid of the country. The power station is expected to be fully operated in January.
You're a young woman in what is a very, very male-dominated industry. The big question is, how did you do it?
Being an entrepreneur is hard. Being a female entrepreneur adds an additional layer of difficulty. Many times people tell us that we're too weak, that we can't do something. If we will step down, our daughters will step down, their daughters will step down, and then we have a very negative chain of events.
Join me in welcoming EcoWave Power's CEO and co-founder, Ina Braverman.
At just 24, Ina created an environmentally friendly energy technology harnessing the power of the ocean waves. Israel's first wave power station here in the Jaffa port is a game changer.
So this is a lot smaller and more compact than I expected.
Exactly, that's what we're trying to do, as much energy possible in the smallest space possible.
We're here sitting in your offices, EcoWave, and I want to hear the story of how you got here, how this company got to this point today.
So actually, EcoWave Power is a very personal journey for me. I was born in Ukraine in 1986. 2 weeks after I was born, the Chernobyl nuclear reactor exploded, which was the largest in history nuclear disaster in terms of costs and casualties. I was one of the babies that got hurt from the negative effects of the explosion. My mother thought that I'm dead, gave me a mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, which actually saved my life until the ambulance came. So I got a second chance in life. So I grew up feeling like maybe I have a unique purpose on this planet. When I was 4 years old, we immigrated to Israel. When I finished my university, I went to work as a Hebrew-English translator for a renewable energy company. And there I kind of discovered the whole world of renewable energy. And wave energy was something that I saw that everybody believed in, but nobody is able to develop a commercially viable wave energy technology. And I started looking at where other companies have failed. And I came up with my own ideas and concepts. And one day I went to really a social event, and there came a guy that sat next to me and said, like, what's your passion? And I said, wave energy. And it turned out that he's a serial entrepreneur. It was like a match made in business heaven. He's the one that invested the first $1 million. That was kind of the beginning of EcoWave Power.
Ina's company, EcoWave, is Israel's first to be listed on the Stockholm Nasdaq, and not surprisingly, was recently listed on the US Nasdaq, as the global market for wave energy is projected to reach $5.1 billion by 2027.
99% of our competitors have decided to go into the offshore, 4 or 5 kilometers into the sea. They were expensive, they were breaking down, so there became a huge question mark of, like, can wave energy even connect to the grid? We decided to ignore the whole industry and go with the concept of connecting to onshore and nearshore structures, such as piers, breakwaters, jetties, and other types of existent marine structures. In 2016, we connected our first project to the grid, showing that we did not burn the grid and that wave energy can actually safely connect to the grid.
And then that's sort of where it comes into play of why did it work for you? And then the answer is because you did things differently than other people, probably.
Exactly, and it wasn't easy.
So how does wave technology actually work? We're off to Ina's original off-the-grid power station for a demo.
Basically, the floaters are going up and down with the movement of the waves. They're pushing the hydro cylinder, which creates pressure in the hydraulic accumulator. The higher the waves, the higher the pressure, and the more energy we produce.
You're translating mechanical movement into hydraulic movement.
Into electrical power.
Which goes in the tank, which then turns around essentially a generator.
Exactly.
So you have the output, I mean, even within this small box, it's a generator.
Yes.
Like the output is electricity.
Of course.
It's incredible.
Just like the waves in the sea, Ina Braverman is a force of nature and has clearly shattered the glass ceiling, paving the way for female entrepreneurs in both Israel and around the globe.
It's something that's very important for me to transmit to other women that are watching us. No matter how many people tell you no, if you believe in what you're doing, keep doing it. Passion is the greatest renewable energy source. It's even stronger than the power of the waves.
Hey, I'm Mati Shoshani, and thank you for watching the TBN Israel YouTube channel. We hope this video gave you greater understanding of Israel and her people. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. We'd love to hear from you, so be sure to share what you've learned and ask your questions in comments below. And invite your friends to join the conversation.